Well, it's the morning of the surgery. I'm all packed up in the car, ready to go. I wasn't sure if I was going to vlog this or not because I've never done a vlog before. And this is not really one of those shining moments that you want to broadcast to everybody, but I think that this is an important part of the journey. Accidents happen, injuries happen, but to document the process, I think it'll help somebody else who ends up in this situation. I'm very thankful for everybody who's reached out to me, showing all your care and support and sending all your positive vibes. It really does mean a lot to me and has helped lift me out of this state of being bummed. It's gonna be a long road to recovery, and it's gonna be painful, I expect. The last few days have been extremely painful. I can basically tolerate a lot of pain, even after the injury. When I got the injury, I'd say it was like a 2 or 3, and then as the swelling went up that night at the ER, it went up to maybe a 4. And the rest of the week, it was like fine. I was able to do house renovation stuff. I removed flooring and put up some trim. Didn't feel any pain, but then like a week later, almost exactly a week later, that Saturday evening, that's when it really started to hit me. I couldn't even go to sleep till like 3:30 in the morning. I got hit with like a 6 or 7 pain for like maybe 2 hours, and then I decided to take ibuprofen and Tylenol. That's really the first day that I started taking painkillers. Yeah, it was pretty bad. And then after that, I was still elevating my legs, making sure that the leg wasn't getting too swollen. Then like nighttime, it just hit me every single night. So that's Saturday until today's Thursday. Saturday through Thursday. Alright, good morning. Today is January 26th. It is currently 3 days after the surgery. I started recording a little bit before. I did mention that I've never vlogged before, so this is like my first time. Not sure if I want to edit everything or just leave this like uncut, the unhinged version. Maybe it'll feel a little more casual or conversational. So my Achilles rupture surgery was on January 23rd. I started recording in the car beforehand, and then we were on our way there. Just wanted to talk about the actual surgery, the feelings that I had that day, and then I guess the last 3 days so far. So to start, I had put in the incorrect address. I just put in UPMC St. Margaret, and that was the address that first came up. And I got there, started to check in, and then they were like, "Oh, we don't have you listed for surgery today." And I was like, "Oh crap." So then I was like, maybe I'm at the wrong location. So then I put in the direct address that they had given me, and luckily it was only like 10 minutes away. I guess it was just because the main hospital is the one that we went to, and then the outpatient center was actually just like pretty close by, but that's where they do all these surgeries. So I got there, and then I was even more nervous because we had gone to the wrong location. So just helped build up those nerves before surgery. But once we got there, it was pretty easy to check in. It only took a few minutes, and then the receptionist said that the surgeon was ahead of schedule, so he could take me. So once I got checked in, I forgot to go back in a wheelchair, and then they set me up on the bed. Before I keep going, I just want to shout out to my family. Everyone's been super supportive. I couldn't have done it without my parents here helping watch the kids, and my wife helping take care of all the things that I was pretty much supposed to with the house renovation, and also she was my personal nurse, so she's been calming my nerves before the surgery and everything. And then big thanks to everyone at Chinese school for checking in. They got me a card, and the Win-Win family, the Wushu school, they sent me, a card and then an edible arrangements for post-surgery. But yeah, back to the day of the surgery. So they got me set up on the bed, and they came back, tested my blood pressure. What else did they do? Oh yeah, they did the questionnaire, make sure I wasn't allergic to any medications, and then they hooked me up with the IV. I absolutely hate needles, but as long as I just looked away, they stuck me pretty fine because my veins are pretty easy to locate. Also, my kids kind of turned me into my own card. They made me a whole bunch of cards, but then they decided to tattoo me up with some personal cards. Yeah, so I got in early, but I was still waiting. I think I waited for about an hour, so there was plenty of time for my nerves to build even more. And up until this time, I still hadn't met the surgeon yet, so that was kind of nerve-wracking for me. Some friends online had shown me pictures of their sutures during their Achilles rupture journey. They looked pretty gnarly, so I was extremely nervous. But then anesthesia came and talked to me and explained the whole process and medications, assured me that I'd be okay. I think initially I thought I was going to be put under general anesthesia, but then he told me that it was just going to be local, so that's good. I would pretty much be twilighting, which was just a nice nap instead of being put fully under. Yeah, he pretty much explained to me that they'd be putting me under local anesthesia. I would get some relaxant in my IV, and then they'd pretty much twilight me, put me to sleep, and if I was having trouble, then they would intubate me if the oxygen wasn't working, because they'd have to flip me over to do the surgery. And then yeah, that's pretty much what he explained to me. And then after that, it was another half hour, and Dr. Hogan came over and talked to me. He basically told me the incision was going to be this big, which I thought that, someone had mentioned that it would be a fully opened incision, and they'd have to open all the way to stitch my tendons back together. But he came over and he was like, oh yeah, it's only going to be this big, and he marked off everything on my leg, and it actually made me feel a lot better because I think just the gnarly stitching was freaking me out, so it was pretty reassuring. Yeah, so he talked to me for 5 to 10 minutes, and then I asked him about how much time I'd have to take off, and it's a little bit vague. I think it was anywhere from 3 weeks to 4 months, depending on the type of work that I do. I'll talk about it a little bit later, but I guess at that time I was just panicking internally. So he left, and then they asked me if I had to go to the bathroom. I had gone once, and gone again. I think I'd gone a total of 4 or 5 times. So they wheeled my wheelchair into the room. I went, hobbled over to the sink, washed my hands, and then not sure if I really had to go or if I was just nervous or if I had to go a little bit and I was afraid that I was going to like pee the bed during surgery. So might as well just go before. And then it was my turn, and my wife reassured me that I would be okay. So they started wheeling me back, and then the nurse said that they had already started injecting the relaxant in me, and I started to feel pretty calm. We got back to the operation room, and one of the first things that I saw was like the MRI of my foot. And I remember asking to see if I could get a copy of that, because, souvenir or this little memory to have of blowing out my Achilles. I remember having a little bit of a conversation with them, and then I don't remember anything. I pretty much like closed my eyes and took a nap. Next thing I remember, I was like sitting up and recovering from the surgery. And then my wife walked in. So I basically do not remember anything from the surgery, which is awesome, because I'm sure that if I did, it would be extremely painful. So they waited for a little bit. I remember being extremely tired, and after a little while, they brought out some water, some ginger ale, some saltines. The saltines, I don't know what it was, but the saltines were delicious. They were like the tastiest thing that I've ever had, and I just like wanted to eat so many of them. But I ate the saltines. I was like so good on my belly. And then they brought out some chips, and I started eating those. Someone had mentioned that I should slow down because I was eating them too fast, and then I think the nausea started to hit, and I did feel a little bit like an upset stomach. And then I drank some ginger ale, and I think the nausea started to keep hitting me. But then once I burped, then I started to feel better. Let's see, after that, I don't really recall too much after that. I think we waited for a little while to make sure that I wasn't like too nauseous, but I do remember that it was getting close to 3:30 or 4 o'clock, and it almost seemed like they were trying to rush to get me out of the hospital or out of the outpatient. Kind of like a bar. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. It kind of felt like that. They're trying to like kick me out. But I guess it's not like a ER or a hospital, so they do have their earlier closing hours. So I understand that. So we drove home. Don't really remember that too much. I think the anesthesia was still like, had me like with some brain fog, or like I didn't really realize what was going on. Got home, saw the family, plopped myself down on the couch, and then I just remember just going in and out of sleep. So I pretty much like slept the rest of that day just on the couch. I think that my mom had made me like a chicken soup. I think. Yeah, I don't remember what day it was. I think it was that night. And then that night I had a list of all my medications, and I basically just didn't sleep very much. I just had to keep waking up to take the medications. Medications prescribed. They prescribed to me Colace, Miralax, gabapentin, and aspirin as daily medications that I had to take. The aspirin I would only take once a day, and I've been taking that at 8 a.m. And then along with those, the Colace and Miralax are supposed to help me with bowel movements. The medications that I'm taking, and I think the anesthesia also kind of blocked me up, so kind of like constipated, so those help me go. The gabapentin is for the nerve pain. Leading up to the surgery, the week leading up to the surgery, I definitely started to feel a lot of the nerve pain of the actual injury. The 7 days before, the 7 days after the injury, I didn't really feel any pain in my Achilles or in my ankle. But right after that, I started to feel a lot of nerve pain. I think it was like, the nerves trying to like reconnect, and
9,000? There's no way that can be right.
Also the swelling, and it was like excruciating pain. Usually I can deal with injuries and pain, but this kind of like hit me out of nowhere. When I was sleeping, it would go from like 2 to 3, and it would like shoot up to 5 to 6, and then the last 2 or 3 days it was like baselining at 5, 6, and it would like shoot up to 8 or 9.
It's over 9,000!
And it's probably like the most pain I've ever felt in my life. It kept me up at like 3:30, like 5 in the morning. I wanted to cry. Like there were tears coming out of my eyes, and like I wanted to like scream, but I couldn't because I'd wake everyone up. It was that bad. So the gabapentin is definitely like a godsend. Like thank God for science. Yeah, those are the main ones that I am scheduled to take every day. So the 4 I take in the morning, and then I take 3 at night at 8 p.m. It's everything minus the aspirin. The aspirin is just a blood thinner, so I don't get blood clots. Also, in addition to like resting and keeping my leg elevated, the doctor did recommend to walk around the house so that I can keep the blood flow and keep the blood pumping so I don't get blood clots. And then moving on to the pain medications, I was prescribed oxycodone, Tylenol, ibuprofen, and then Zolfran for the nausea. I definitely wanted to stay with their recommendations. They said oxycodone every 4 to 6 hours, Tylenol every 6 hours, and then ibuprofen every 8. So I put together like a spreadsheet so that I could stay on top of like my scheduled doses. And then I would just set my alarm. I set like 4 different alarms just so I could get a reminder in case I fell asleep or dozed off. Yeah, so I did that for the first 2 days. Zolfran for the nausea. So post-surgery, that night and the next day, I was very nauseous. Right? I didn't think I was, but as soon as I tried to sit up or stand up, that's when it hit me. When you're laying down, you feel fine, but then you get up and it's ooh, I want to throw up, or I felt dizzy. So the second day, I wasn't extremely sure if it was the nausea or if it was the medicine that was kind of making me still a little bit woozy. So I still took the Zolfran until probably that second day afternoon. So you kind of just have to feel it out. Let's see. So Thursday to Friday, I stuck with the medications religiously. Friday to Saturday, I also did too, except towards the afternoon, I tried to make this decision of tapering myself off the medications because I didn't want to get too reliant on the medications. Ibuprofen was only recommended for the first 3 days, and then they told me to stop because, blood thinning and everything. Let's see, what are my thoughts? Yes, so I knew that I could put up with some of the pain, so I didn't want to get too reliant on the oxycodone or the Tylenol because, they're also not great for you. So oxycodone I pushed to about 6 hours now, and I didn't even take my last dose of it because I was able to deal with the pain a little bit. And also I kind of staggered it, so the Tylenol would cover some of the pain. And the other thing that you can do is also ice right behind the knee, so then the numbing effects of the ice help travel down to your Achilles and also your ankle. So that's one way to kind of deal with the pain. I actually haven't taken anything in the last 2 hours, I'd say. I think the last thing I took was Oxy in the morning, and I took some Tylenol. I took ibuprofen really early in the morning, probably I have to check my schedule, but yeah. So feeling pretty good right now. Yeah, so doing all right. We're doing all right. I mean, it definitely helps that I have my family helping me. I couldn't have done it